All right, so this is the afternoon session, day one of the Java stack. So this morning we talked about pretty much everything except for maps. So the map section, I'm not saying that there are any unimportant assignments, but I will say that this will be the last time we talk about hash maps for the rest of the course. So again, it's good that we have hash maps. Hash maps are basically just think dictionaries in Python, but we're not going to utilize them going forward. Okay, so what I want to do now though is focus on just kind of a review of this morning, and I'll continue with the demo of Cafe Business Logic. Okay, so and if there's time, we'll get started with the OOP stuff. Okay, any questions so far? All right. So just to, as a review, and I fixed the assignments, I added Alfred Bot. So I won't go into, basically this is the Java code for Hello World. Now that the alphabet soup that you kind of get with Java is confusing because there's a bunch of J's and a bunch of, right? So basically the way it works is we have a JDK, which includes the JRE and, well, yeah, so the JDK includes the JRE. JRE is just the Java runtime environment, and the Java virtual machine is what essentially runs our code. So the sort of motto for Java is WARA, or write once, run anywhere. So the advantage that Java has over something like C++ is you can write a single program, and as long as the operating system has a JVM, it has the current Java virtual machine, it can run the application. So we don't need to maintain two separate code bases for, well, two or three or four, however many operating systems you want to take into account, right? There's Mac, Windows, and Linux, but there's also, BSD. There's a couple of other operating systems. The advantage with Java is we don't have to maintain multiple code bases for different operating systems. So the write once, run anywhere is saves a lot of development time in that basically there's one code base. Whereas with C++, you have at least Mac and Windows, right? And I'm not sure how if they differentiate between Linux and Unix, or they write a different one for Linux. They probably do. Actually, we could find out. So when you guys were working with the MERN stack last month, Node, does anybody know what language Node.js is written in? So Node.js is written in C and C++. So when you go to install Node or download Node, right, there's three separate, well, they have a Windows installer, a Mac installer, and then the source code. So they have two separate code bases, one for Windows, one for Mac. So the advantage Java has over these other over C++ is the Java virtual machine. You only need to write one code base. Okay, so that's a minor point. It doesn't really help you going forward, but that's the whole reason behind why Java is so popular. Any questions about that? Okay, so we did the hello world. So the data types, just know you don't have to memorize any of this or know the sizes, but basically the int, we have the int type, which is primitive. It's 4 bytes. The wrapper is the integer with the capital I. That's significantly bigger than 4 bytes. Okay, I think it's 32 bytes. So that extra functionality that comes with the wrapper classes takes up more space. So we want to default to using the primitive types if we can. Okay, so the time we do actually have to use the wrapper class is with the array list. Okay, when we make an array of integers, we can't use the primitive integer. We have to use the wrapper class. Okay, so when we're making array lists, it has to be an array of integers, capital I integers. Okay. Generally, we don't use float. Double is, the difference between 4 bytes and 8 bytes isn't all that much. So the double is more precise. So we use double instead of float. And the char and Boolean, char again, characters are single quotes, strings are double quotes. Okay. And then the Boolean is actually the smallest, takes up the least amount of space. It's just a simple 0 or 1, right? So if it's false, it's 0. If it's true, it's 1. Okay, so we talked about variables. Conditionals, I didn't really talk about because conditionals are the same syntax, same basic idea that you guys have been doing since day one. So basically, conditionals, if is raining is true, we print out, bring an umbrella. And we have the same, again, the same basic syntax, if, else, else if. It's the same thing you did in JavaScript. The syntax is identical. Okay. All right. And then does JavaScript has a switch, right? They do. Yeah, of course. So the switch statement, again, syntax is the same. We just have the cases, and then we put a break statement in between each case. Otherwise, it'll fall through and it'll print everything below it. So this is just the switch statement is basically an alternative to the if else, or I'm sorry, if else if else if else if else if. We can use the case or the switch statement as a sort of more concise syntax. And the ternary operator, again, you guys have seen the ternary operator in MERN, right? Where you can conditionally render components. So the syntax is similar. We still have the question mark, colon. It's just, it's pretty close. All right. Strings, that's okay. So let's get back to any questions before I go forward.